never know.
Well, same thing with the gas prices. You don't freaking know what's going to be like in 3 months either.
Nuts.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure we'll all have the same backgrounds. The pineapple will still be there.
Maybe.
Scott Schilling will still be the big floating head over the city.
That's
and,
right.
you know, we'll still be those people, and we'll be back. But
and who knows of John's background?
I wanted to take a moment. Maybe we could all just take a moment, and I want to thank all of you and show some appreciation just for the time that you guys put into this podcast. When Lynn and I started it a long time ago, we thought it was just going to be me and her just kibitzing a little bit, and then we got a guest and another guest. Next thing you know, it turned into your show as well. And the fact that you guys come every week and you share your knowledge and your experiences and your humor and everything else with us, it has been an absolute honor to this point to be working with you guys. I wanted to take a moment and thank you guys for that, and to thank you for what you all do and your I don't want to be cocky and know exactly what your missions are, but you all seem to be on a mission of helping and of being of service to people, and I appreciate all of you for that. So I just want to take a minute and thank you guys for that.
Thank you.
And for Scott Scooter being the other Scott, it's been Lynn and Scott or the other Scott show has been great too.
Always fun.
It's been great. You know, like I said, maybe Tuesdays there's not much going on, but you know, it's been great that you guys have been able to come here, and the wisdom and the knowledge and the clippets that we can make out of that, you know, that could be probably about 10 years or a lifetime of wisdom on this panel. It's been amazing and it's been great. So it's been a true blessing, and it's going to outlast all of us. And that's one great thing, because I think it's so important to leave the legacy of remembering and the laughter and the fun things that it's just important to share that all the time. So I'm glad we've given that to the world.
Lynn, I got to say, if we add up all our experiences, we're well into the triple digits here. We're not looking at 30 years of experience here. We go back to the Civil War days. So I want to ask you guys. I mean, you know,
John, what were the rates back then?
It's not rates, Scott. It's service. That's what it is.
Back in the day, they were like in the 18%, weren't they?
When I got in it, they were 18.
Really?
Yeah.
Shoot, that was
single-handedly brought them down.
All by myself. I will take credit.
Wow.
Now, we've all stood in front of crowds, and we've had events, and we've done different things, public speaking in one way or another. What has this meant to you doing these kind of podcasts? Not just with our podcast, but I know you guys do other projects too. But, you know, what does it mean to you to be able to reach out and do things this way? Start with you, Barry. What do you think?
What? No.
No. Barry's been sucking asbestos for the last couple of months, so he's not real clear on what's going on now.
It might take 3 months to see how he's doing.
Yeah, right. No, the thing is basically that, you know, because I do two podcasts as well, but it's the same people in a way. This group is great because there's such a diversity of perspective and opinion and experience. So I come here, yes, to contribute, but also to receive as well. So this group is always fun because it isn't about us all being talking heads out to the world. It's about interacting, learning from each other, and contradicting each other too. So for me, the value of being in this conversation with the pups as well has been much more fun than, you know, could do other things too. So that's why I love doing this and being in this group.
Yeah, I agree with you. I always come away from these things feeling like, even those moments when you sit down, it's like, God, I wish I didn't have to do it tonight. I walk away feeling fulfilled and like I've learned something every time, which is beautiful. Yeah. What do you think, Scott?
Well, I think we always, you know, we might have a topic when we start. Most times not, but sometimes we actually do. And but by the time we finish, we've circled around to something pretty significant for that time frame, for that week or whatever. And I agree with what Barry says. You know, it's nice to do your own stuff and you know, work to put good work out. But this becomes one of those where we bounce stuff off, we interact, we're more alike than different, quite frankly. You know, I think, and a big part of that is the desire to be of service and to be of value to the audience and everything. So, you know, it just makes it a lot of fun. And, you know, we used to be far more serious and
Yeah.
you know, the helium or something is taken over. I'm not sure. We're all vaping, markers now. So, there's something going on that is taken over. And no, but we have a lot of fun. We talk about a lot of really serious topics at times, and bring a number of different yet similar perspectives to it. We've never really had a big arm wrestling match in here, or anybody getting upset with anybody, or any of that. It's offering, except for Rex. But that's sometimes the caffeine. But it's the fact that we're all willing to listen to each other and hear each other out, and then share a perspective. And I think that becomes the greatest things over the time that we've been doing this, the 432 episodes. We've all gained different perspectives, and I think each one has had a little bit of an edge knocked off here or there, and there's a little greater understanding in total because of that.
Absolutely. And, I love it. I mean, we approach things with a lot of humor as well, which is nice. Even when we're talking about serious topics, we don't get so serious about ourselves. We might be talking about serious subject matter, but we don't take ourselves so seriously that we have to be right, or we have to be, we simply want to share our perspectives and hear each other's perspectives. John, what do you say, brother? Because, you've been riding this wave for quite a while with us here. And, I know your whole family's waiting outside so they could use the light bulb tonight when you're done.
It's the only one we have in the house. Rates aren't where they need to be for mortgages. Enough about mortgages. Please stop. Kind of like what Scott said. I think the cool thing is we have a lot of fun, but at the end of every show, there's a result. You'll learn something. And if you look at the Brady Bunch panel on here, Lynn, everything you've done, putting this together, the notes you send, hey, have a great day. You're just incredible at what you do. Scott Jones, what you've been through and the people you are helping with the addictions is absolutely incredible and impressive. Barry, you just give sex, love advice. And to me, whether I'm by myself or with my wife, I use that. It works out great. Scott, you've been on my show. You're absolutely,
account.
Again, your positivity and what you bring to it in your life results. And Rex, I mean, what you do on watching your posts, your Hollywood career, what you do, where you go, it's just, some of the coolest 5 people I've ever met. And anytime we connect or I watch what you guys do, I always get something out of it. And just a quote, when I was on a podcast last night, because we're all into servant leadership and helping one another, the quote was, people hate being sold, but they like shopping with friends. So if I had to go shopping with friends, I'd pick you 5, and I hate shopping.
Wow, I love that.
I love it.
Rex, how do you follow that, brother?
Can't.
Show's over. Bye-bye.
If Rex is speechless, I will die happy right now. That's all I have to say.
Maybe it was the salad, but who knows?
Rex, tell us about the mortgage rates, would you?
They're better than 18%.
Indeed.
So, John, that was very wonderful, very elegant, and everybody who shared incredible things. Back around in the 70s and 80s, there were people from India, and we did something called laughter meditation every morning for about an hour, and where you just forced laughter until you laughed. And if you were sitting with 2 people or 10 people or 500 people, and you start to laugh, pretty soon the laughter mechanism takes over. You force it at first, but eventually, because laughter is a non-voluntary response. It's something that when you laugh, you're hyperventilating for a good part of it. You're off balance. Somebody could push you over if you're having a good belly laugh, and you're kind of cleansing your system, and it just completely can dismantle any problem or any issue that you have in that moment. Then what you see is people try and regroup after they've laughed, and they come back and go, okay, now I'm back with my problems. But that moment of laughter is transformative. So if we can bring fun to the show, if we can have people laugh, if we can have conversations about serious things and demonstrate that nothing is too serious, and that fun and joy and laughter is how children grow up in the world for the most part, unless they're not treated well, is that you learn more, you transform more, you remember more when you're in a positive state of being. And so take any serious subject and be able to add humor to it, add fun to it, add delight to it, it becomes something that for many can be enlightening, transformative, and the opportunity to actually be so different, to forget their problems for a little bit of a time, and then hopefully not pull them right back in, but to be able to forget that for a little bit of time and have that release and that relief.
Nice.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mic drop.
Lynn, what do you think? Lynn, what do you think? What do you think, Lynn?
My thing is go next. My mic is being funny all of a sudden.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll go
We'll call
next.
you Lynn, Scott, Lynn, Scott. What do you think?
What about? I don't think. I just show up, and that always serves me well. And actually, that's not far from the truth.
We know.
I don't overthink things like I used to. I don't try to. I used to aspire to be intelligent by proving to everybody around me that I was intelligent, and I used to want to be more charming than other people and do all of that stuff. And I spent a lot of my life wasting time trying to be something instead of just being it. A lot of people out there, they want to show everybody what a terrific person they are. And the effort that they're trying to convince you could be used on just being a good person, just being kind. Scott, you say it well all the time when you talk about, dignity and respect and kindness. And that's what we really need out there right now. It's such a hard time. There's unrest in the Middle East now. There's all these things going on. There's a lot of time when I sit down and I turn on the news and I almost get goosebumps. I almost shudder just to think, we're at the precipice of either doing something wonderful or doing something really freaking awful. And more of this, more of minds just getting together and saying, what do you think? And what do you think? More diversity of thought, more diversity of ideas, and more gatherings of men and women who just want to exchange and look for better ways of doing things without just saying, my way is the only way. I'm the only one who's right. And it's a sadness. I'm not going to change the world in what I'm doing, although I can make a dent in my piece. And if everybody makes a little dent, the world changes. So all I got to do is continue to be kind and as kind as I can, be as fair as I can. Stop trying to prove to people what I want them to see and just be who I am, do the right things, and people will see what they see. And that's something I spend a lot of time helping other people with is they want to, they spent their whole lives shoving needles in their arms and robbing people and doing horrible things. And then when they straighten their life around, they're like, well, I want everybody to see me how I am now. And I'm like, just be who you are now and people will see it. Stop trying to shove things down everybody's throat. And that's why I love this group, because even if we could all disagree. We could have 6 opinions right now, but somehow it all comes together into a harmonious thought of options, of different ways, but none of it is harmful. I guess I really kind of want to go with that kind of Gandhi. Be the change you want to see in the world. Let's all stop talking about how horrible things are and just start being better people. And maybe that's when things will start turning around. And that's kind of where I'm pushing my life towards now. I've wanted to be the hot shot. I've wanted to do all that stuff. People, I drive a Ford frickin' Focus. Okay. Why? Because all the money I have and everything I have goes into my business. Lynn will tell you, I live in a small house with a couple of guitars on the wall and a little bit of paint everywhere.
It's cozy.
And I'm happy, and I'm happier now than I was living in the biggest house in Jersey where I lived. I'm happier now because I'm just doing the right thing. Stop trying to impress people. Stop trying to be a big shot, and get together with people and exchange ideas. I love this. I love this so much. And I love all you guys. You guys are great.
I was really fortunate to be in a room this weekend, a 2-day event with, if you knew the resumes of the people in the room, but there was no way to particularly know that. I mean, literally rocket scientists, inventors, people who have done just some amazing things. One guy had a $6.9 billion exit from a company. You would never have known it. One guy, they said, well, he's a retired general. He ran the Desert Storm operations. I mean, this wasn't just but you would never have known that, right? He was just a leader of people. And, in the people that were in the room. There was there was a gentleman that's working to rebuild the entire village that he came from in India, and really, you know, put manufacturing in there and just grow the entire area around it. And, you know, you just ask him, why? You know, what's the motivation? He said, because that's where I came from. And I want other people to come from there too. It wasn't any more than that, you know? So, I mean, to be in a room full of people that make choices to, it was phenomenal to be around a group of people that didn't care about any of the accolades in any of the, you know, resume crud. The only thing they wanted to do is get together, meet each other, see how they could collaborate, see what other great things could be put together, all those kinds of things. And I think to an extent, it's part of what we do here or have done, and hopefully will continue to do. But it really is a matter of making the choice to want to do better for self, for others, for the group, for whomever. You know, that's just it. That's a consistent driving force in the people I run into these days, at least. And I was honored to be a fly on the wall. I mean, I was a speck in that room by far, and I was a very honored speck.
Well, you are a very honored spec, Scott. And I'll tell you what, it's one of those things that we've talked about multiple times, you know, starting your day by complimenting someone else, whether it's via text, whether it's a quick message, you know, before you get out of bed, pick up the phone. Now, I know they always say, go exercise. Screw that. That's never going to happen. But when the phone's in your hand,
You made it.
want a good morning text to say, hey, have a great day. Hope you're doing well. I saw your post last week. Imagine your first text in the morning at 5, 6, whatever time it is. You wake up before your day starts and it's something positive, just to say hello, good morning, have a great day. And we've talked about that. That goes a long way. And you see on the face of people, no matter where they are that you say it to, it does. It goes a long way, Scott. And I'm sure they're on a podcast somewhere going, they met Scott Schilling and they were a spec because of what you brought to that team.
You see, I'm glad you said that, John, and I'm glad you said that's Scooter, because it's when Scott and I started this show, I knew you guys and I knew what you guys could bring to the table. And I was honored when when I said, hey, do you want to join Scott and I? And, you know, that's why I named this As We All See It, because I knew that we, you know, and when I talk, I usually try to put a different spin. I like to be the devil advocate in the conversation because I want people to see it from different angles all the time and bring it to, you know, bring it to a different, you know, spin the topics in a way that somebody that might be listening go, well, what about this? Or what about that? Or, you know, throw things out there. And you guys are just awesome because you bring topics and people don't even know your resumes, but they can see your passion to answer it or give your, you know, spin on things. And just amazing how you guys always come to the table with your perspectives and you know, and the way you give it. So I really appreciate that because, you know, I may throw your books up here and I will do that again before we leave tonight. But, you know, it's just like, I can't see anybody watching this and not wonder, wow, that insight of Barry and he's in relationships, you know, I got to go stalk him, you know. And I always hope that people go stalk you after this because I think you guys are awesome and worth stalking. Now, I don't know about the whole mortgage thing and I can't help that, but, you know.
You know, I'll tell you, Lynn, mortgage stalkers are some of the best people you'll ever meet.
But John can handle anybody that goes ahead and stalk him because he'll sell you a mortgage, I'm sure. So anyhow,
Scott, I want to address when you said that I feel like a speck there in a sense that just because of all the greatness around you, right?
Yeah, the world being, you know.
But you know what? It also makes you the most important person in the room because you're the one who's going to absorb all of that, carry it out of that room, and pass it on, like you've done. You and Barry and Rex and John, you guys have shared stuff from people and from experiences that will never come around again. Mm-hmm. They will never be here again. And you guys carry those messages forward. I would say the spec ends up being the most important thing in the room because if it never gets out of that room, nothing has changed. So it is important that we're there and that we get to absorb. And when you sit there and share about things like Zig Ziglar and things that people would never really understand or know about unless you shared that. So I'm always honored to hear you when you share your stories and when you share those different things. And I think it's so important that somebody does that we pass the knowledge along. That's what makes this podcasting so great, is we pass stuff along. Sometimes it's just ridiculous stuff, but it means something to somebody somewhere.
The interesting point was the general. We were in a roundtable discussion about culture, and I said, ultimately, I believe it all comes down to heart. It comes down to relationships. And after the roundtable broke up, he came up to me and he goes, "We need to talk." And I said, "Okay, why?" He said, "My book, one point, one leadership, one heart, is the name of his book."
Wow.
And so no idea about that, whatever, but it was just like, again, people are coming from this place of relationship. And we got into an interesting, one guy said, "Oh, this crap about relationships is ridiculous." And he said, "You're stuck on the word. It's really about trust, and trust is what builds the relationship." And so it was even perspective. There was this big bang about, the importance of relationships, and fine tuning it. It really is the importance of trust. And that's why you have the relationships. That's why Barry's the love doctor, right?
And I guarantee you could tell right there that guy has a trigger on a past trauma on a relationship. That was a billboard right there to tell you.
It was hilarious though for him.
Yeah,
I've never heard anybody just flare on the word relationship.
Right?
Well, I would submit that there's no such thing as a relationship. There's only relating. And there's no such thing as trust. There's only the ability to be trusting. We talk about communication, but we can only be communicating. It is the act of doing something. People say, "I love you." I would rather say, "How can I behave in loving ways towards you or with you?" as opposed to just saying, "I profess my love to you," because who gives a crap? We have used love with hamburgers and everything else. So to say, "I love you," we get it. We know what you mean, but everybody loves differently. Everybody has different experiences. There's no singular meaning for any one of the words that we use. So how can we be more loving to the people we're with? How can we be more relatable and relate well with them instead of talking about these entities of our relationship, our love for each other, So I like to break it down that regard, because it gives you something that you can do in terms of fulfilling a behavior or a thought or heart-centered thing. One of the most powerful women in the world was Mother Teresa. Didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, didn't have pockets, the whole thing, but she could walk into any president or any king or any queen's, office almost at any time, without having to be invited. But her service was to give, and she didn't walk around going, "I am Mother Teresa after all." Look at what I've accomplished, because she would give it to the guy upstairs or the gal upstairs or, whatever, and it was this the idea of servant leadership without the credit. Years ago in Hollywood, I did a movie with a bunch of people, and we all had become friends, but, as things are, you go in different ways and do different things. And I ran into this guy one day and I said, "How you doing?" He says, "Great." I said, "See anyone lately?" He goes, "Oh, I saw so-and-so." And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, I'm so sick of seeing that guy." Like, why? He goes, "Every time I see him, he runs down his resume. Here's what I've done. This is who I know. This is what I'm doing. This is where I've got an audition. This is what's happening." Because I just can't stand being around him, because he doesn't just say, "Hi, how are you? What's going on?" Be interested in anyone else. He's just too busy giving his resume out. And there's an awful lot of people who are like that instead of, even when they say things like, "Hi, this is about you, but first let me talk about me." And tell you all the things I've done so that I'm a person that can help you. This social proof thing, this so much of it has gotten bent out of whack because everybody needs to now market to their niche and do all these things. But I'm going to go back and kind of wrap this around what Scott said about we're in turbulent times. No, we're not. The times aren't any more turbulent than they were 6,000 years ago or 30,000 years ago. They're the same. The difference is we know about it now instantly,
That's
all
true.
around the world. You know, if you lived in Madagascar, for God's sake, 800 years ago, you didn't know what was going on, 300 miles away, or it came, by carrier pigeon, days or weeks later. We have the instant access to get depressed, to get divided, to hate what's happening. If there's a something happening over here and it's a political thing or a religious thing or a financial thing or whatever, and we don't like it, boy, we're all over the internet on it. It's everywhere. And that's the world we live in. And what I think this show does is say, you know what, for a little bit of time, we can all get together, we can laugh, we can talk, we can discuss, but we kind of put our opinions, not our opinions, but our problems on hold and try and just have a little bit of inspiration for everybody to know that not everything is as bad as you think it is. A lot of that is so much manufactured by what you consume willingly on your own. Who you listen to and who you pay attention to is really an important thing to consider. And what I have tried to do in my life is to listen to the opposition to whatever I believe, enough to go, maybe I'm full of horse shit. And sometimes I go, nope, I'm not. And sometimes I go, yep, I am, but the willingness to take on other points of view, to behave, to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, to understand them from where they're coming from, as opposed to only from where I'm coming from or where we're coming from, is truly an art. And when it comes to relating, that's a huge piece, to ask another person, what's important to you about this? I have a cure for most vacations, for vacationing couples. Before they go on a vacation, you just go, what's important to you about our vacation? Find out why they want to go and what they want to do and what's important. Some people want to go and relax. Other people want to go and ha-cha-cha and drink and party and do all this stuff. And if they don't talk to each other and communicate and relate well, then they get there and they go, well, I want to do this. And they go, well, I want to do that. And then they fight.
Can you say ha-cha-cha one more time, Rex?
Ha-cha-cha.
That's all I need.
I want to sing. I want to dance. I want to ha-cha-cha.
Rex is dancing. We've officially jumped the shark with the show. That's what we needed. That's what we needed. Barry, what do you think, brother?
Well, it's funny because what Rex was talking about, the thing about there is no such thing as relationship. There's only the art of relating. One of my teachers said that a long time ago, which I remember vividly. The thing is also, we are human beings, not human bees.
Right.
So we're not a human that does nothing. We are beings. So we're reacting, we're involved, we're connecting. Something's come up for me recently, and it's come back again several times, is remembering that this is temporary. I don't mean the show, I mean life.
Well, no, you meant the show.
Well, within the scope of life, yes. The reason I'm saying that is because it's really, as we've said a couple of times in the show, it's very tempting to get hooked into all the stuff that's not working, going wrong. It's all problematic. And yes, in philosophies like what Scott's talking about, this too shall pass. Well, that's the reality is we won't be here in 1,000 years individually, maybe reincarnated. So getting fixated on something stupid like someone cutting us up in traffic or something happening in court or something happening in DC, the reason to get upset with that doesn't make sense, because ultimately it's only stressing us out if we just get invested in things we can't control. So I just recognize, one, we talked about this before in the show, is the only thing we really have control over is our own attitude, our relationship with ourselves. And if we start looking at life as being something that we're enjoying the journey of, and that we're not caught up in everything happening around us, we can be free. But it's a choice. And so this journey we're on, that we're always unfolding, growing, learning, and all the things we do in the show as well, that's why I love it so much, because we get to see new perspectives, new viewpoints, and see things perhaps the way we didn't see them before. So this show is going to be interesting to be without for a couple of months. It's like withdrawal symptoms. But recognizing also that's part of the journey. So I just really have gotten clearly, more often than not, that when I look back at things that happened in the last few hours of my day, sort of thing, and what's going on next tomorrow, it's just, oh, that's interesting, rather than, oh my God, that's so terrible. And one of my teachers said a long time ago how everything that happens to us or happens around us, we can look at as being, the frame he used was, that is an interesting evolutionary experience. Because if you can look at everything in life like that, no matter how good, bad, or indifferent it is, and then it becomes fun, because you're like, that's interesting. can I grow from that? Because an experience we have, what we do with it is up to us, though. So we have a choice.
Well, that's beautiful. I want to add, because this is why I always say that, Pollyanna is the most disparaged, person on the planet, because people will say, well, you're not being realistic, or you're not being that. There's nothing saying you have to be realistic anywhere, because what is realistic? What's realistic is you're a process and you ain't done yet. If you were done, you'd be dead, or you'd be a plastic person, in a plastic flower or something, because it can't change. It's perfect. It's not, with all the flaws, it's what it is. But you said human being, we are processes, and as the process and in process, we're never finished. And so life is a process. And if you're in the process of being and in the process of living, and life doesn't go the way you think it should, okay, so what? You know what I mean? In other words, people get bent out of shape and go, I wanted this and it didn't happen, and so therefore I'm going to go eat worms, or I'm going to go, throw this tirade. When all of the things that the turns, if you're on a Disneyland adventure, for example, you like the twists and turns, you like the roller coaster ups and downs, you like to be scared purposely. But when it comes to our life, we think it's somehow it should just always be comfortable. Nothing should go wrong. We should never have any problems. And those are the very things that get us to move. They're the get us to leave where we are and do something else. At some point, somebody goes, I'm too thin, I need to lift weights to be bigger. And somebody says, I'm too big, I need to lift weights to be smaller. It's all process. So the more you can celebrate everything, and the more that you don't attach to anything, but do what you said. Well, that's interesting, or that's how, or to say, I always land on my feet, or good always happens. There's always good that comes from this. I just don't know what it is yet. You never have to lie. If something's going on that you don't like, you don't have to go, well, something's going on that I don't like, or you don't have to go, oh, it's wonderful and everything is great. If you don't feel it, you can just say, hey, I'm exploring some options and some resources that I didn't expect to explore. And some people might have a problem with that, but I'm looking into this from different kinds of points of view to see how things are going to end up. And I always do land on my feet. So, at some point I expect to land on my feet. I may not be there yet, but I'm in the journey. In other words, the looser we hold onto our beliefs and our expectations of the world or other people, the more we can actually celebrate.
Right.
I like that. And Barry, if you start to having a withdrawal from the show, take a screenshot of this screen right here. Every once in a while, just pull it up and talk to the screen, and just talk,
And remember what Scott said about your pineapple.
And you can disagree with yourself if you want to pretend we're here, or do whatever you want to do. That's important.
Thank you.
There's one theme I've just got to. Maybe I'm wrong, and I love everything that's being said here today. As always, it's so brilliant. It seems like a lot of what we talk about always comes back to self. Where we talk about a lot of outward things, about being kind or doing things or relating or relationships or whatever you want to say, but almost everything that we talk about in one way or another comes back to what you do with yourself, and how you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself, those kind of things. It's about take care of the self, and the self can go out and take care of others. Am I wrong on that, or does that seem to be a theme that we've all been following here?
We forget that we have a choice, period. We were conditioned when we were small. You can do this, you can do that. We were always told what we could do as opposed to what we can't do. And as older, we forget that we were programmed. We forget that we can reprogram ourselves to do and have choices the way we want. And so we forget we have a choice all the time. Can either think positive or negative. And I think that's the biggest thing we always try to show here. Your perspective may be negative, but we're always trying to show the positive of everything on the show. And I think that's what I love about what we've done here, is always showing that you may have been stuck in your old ways and you're set in your stuff, but that you've always had a choice to change it the way you saw it and see it a different way from somebody else's experience on here.
And that's what I'm talking about, is changing in perspective.
Right.
But that's inside work to do.
Right, exactly.
I don't change my perspective by changing what's going on around me. I change it by changing how I see it, or how I choose to see it.
Right.
I remember very back at the beginning when Rex was first coming on the show, and he used to scare the shit out of me. I'm not going to lie.
What do you mean?
But I don't anymore.
No.
You
Damn.
get it because
My
you
work is
changed.
done. My work is done.
You changed your thought about him.
Yeah. Well, when I used to say things like, how do you motivate yourself and how do you make things changes and do this, and Rex would always be like, if you want to make a change, make a change, and if you're stuck, it's because you want to be stuck, and if you want something different, do something. It always comes back to us.
That's
so
right.
we can all change the world, but you don't change the world by going out and changing other people. You change the world by changing you and then sharing that with others. Am I wrong? Am I right? What do you guys think?
Can I jump in since you referenced me?
Well, yeah, just don't.
It was reverence.
I can't afford therapy anymore, Rex.
No. But
It
when
was
I was,
reverence,
when I
not
was
reference.
14, 15, and 16, teenager, I was very dogmatic, very kind of anti my parents. I mean, I loved them, but I was like, I'm finding my own way. I'm doing this stuff. And I was at the university one day and pontificating with a bunch of people. And this guy asked me the most profound question I'd ever heard, which I still think is the most profound question I've ever heard. And that was, how do you know you're not a brick thinking you're a human?
Obviously, Rex hung out with the stoners.
No, but let me ask you this. Have you ever had a dream that was so vivid that you woke up and then, oh, crap, that was a dream?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the Buddhists, the Hindus have been asking this question forever. Zen have been asking, how do you know that you're dreaming when you're awake, that you're not dreaming this whole life? And when you're asleep, that you're not dreaming the real life. I mean, how do we know? So, I mean, you have a dream and you wake up and go, oh shit, that was a dream. None of that's real. It's because we somehow have this idea that this is what reality is. But maybe this, I mean, 100 years ago, they didn't have the notion of simulation. Now people say, well, maybe we're living in a simulation. Maybe the Matrix is now the term, sci-fi stuff. I mean, whatever it is, we don't necessarily know. Maybe there's only one person thinking one thought, but it's fractionated into 8 billion different kinds of expressions. We don't know, so, I mean, you can go down the rabbit hole on this kind of philosophical thinking and go nowhere, or you can become enlightened, but the idea is what do you want your life to be like? What do you want to leave as a legacy? How do you want to have lived? And instead of being tied to philosophical or political or religious or whatever kind of platitudes and stuff, understand that you are a living being. You're in a process, and whatever is going to happen is really, really, truly up to you. Yes, less other things happen, but your reaction to it, if a volcano erupts tomorrow and takes, Mount Vesuvius goes and everybody's gone. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what are you going to do with it? That maybe that's part of your dream. Maybe that's reality.
Wake up.
But the key, this is it. It's waking up to who we are. Right. And I don't mean to make that metaphysically weird. I'm just saying it's waking up to who you truly are without all of the pretense that's been put on us from birth on. So the question of it's your choice it's always your choice. You want to consider it a dream. You want to consider it reality. You want to consider it the problem. You want to consider it a solution. You want to consider it yourself really happy and well-adjusted or really screwed up. I mean, you are in the act of choosing every second, consciously or otherwise, and making decisions constantly from what I'm going to say next to what I'm going to eat to what I'm going to wear to what I'm going to do. I mean, it's just this non-ending process. So let's focus on the things that are truly important, the way we get along in harmony and create the world that we could have together and to share and to understand and to love. There's no time for these. I mean, really, when you think about it, I mean, there can be great satisfaction in berating somebody over religion or politics or something else or family or whatever. But when it all boils down to it, why are you here? Are you here to have a good time or a shit time? And if you're here to have a good time, then have one.
So true. So true.
I love that. Somebody pick up. Go ahead, Barry.
Well, one thing we can play with, and something I've considered well from one of my, I'm reading a book somewhere. I remember reading this, is the philosophy of consider that if we are, as you're saying, like only one person here, if there's only one of us that is in every single person all the time. So basically, we are reliving every lifetime, millions of them, billions even. How we treat the people we meet, How do we be with ourselves even? And what you said earlier, Scott, about is we'll come back to the self. Frankly, we can't be anybody else at that time. We're always going to be inside the shell that we live in until we're gone. So we can only look through that lens. We can only listen through these ears. We can only be present to what we are and then how we interact. That's why, even though I do a lot of work in relationship, I'm moving more into the self-relationship conversation, because that's where the real work is. Because we have this bad habit of putting all our stuff on somebody else and then getting upset because they don't do what we want. It's up to us all the time. How we relate to the issue is the issue, as one of my teachers said. Because the truth is, we get caught up in, that's wrong, this shouldn't happen, and then we get all put out of shape. And it's always, we get to choose how we feel based on what we experience. But like you were saying, Lynn, we have to remember that, though.
And we have to remember it's always an inside job. Always.
Right. So that's the key. That's why I've been in this journey for so many years, because I had to keep learning the lesson over and over and over again, so I can remember and notice that when things happen, oh, hang on a second, that's not about them, it's mine. The whole thing about they use the metaphor, when you point at somebody, there's only one finger pointing out and three pointing back at yourself. It sounds like a silly metaphor, but it's a reminder.
Yeah.
If we're upset, are we upset about them, or are we upset because we didn't do something, or are we upset because we didn't handle it? Or better yet, why do we choose to carry the upset energy? Be Pollyanna, be positive, be forward focused, and not carry all that crap and upset about things that happened to us 20 years ago. It's time to put that down and live life freely.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Scott.
Oh, I was going to say, I totally agree. I don't understand people that are so hung up on somebody that wronged them a lifetime ago. And, or that they're just, that they can't get through things. They're over. They're done. You can't change it. You can only get better from that point forward, way back when. And as some might say it as a trite statement, but you do the best you can with what you know at the time. Now you know more. Now you can do better. I remember when I first learned that statement, because I had this thing going on with my parents, and somebody said, do you think your dad popped down every morning going, Mary Jane, make me breakfast, and how are we going to screw up Scott today? It's not what they did, and so
not every day.
Well, not every day, just a lot.
But it was like a good point, right? It was a good point.
But it's like, why, and so it's so weird. But as soon as you say it that way, you go, of course they didn't do that. Well, so then why are you holding on to it? Well, I don't know. Well, then stop it. I mean, the greatest skit of all time, Bob Newhart.
Yeah.
Stop. Well, I don't like what's going on. Stop. I mean, just stop it. Go do something else, right? And so I don't understand that holding on to all the hurts and all the different stuff. It can't be. I mean, I'm not the grand psychologist or anything, but it can't be good for you to hold on to all that baggage and all that stuff. And that's the one thing that Rex, has pontificated on many times here, is just live today, live the choice, go do it. Don't name it either way or any way, quite frankly, just live it. And I think that that's been a big part of this show. And I'm grateful for everybody here from that standpoint, the encouragement of just live it, go out and be better later today and tomorrow than you were earlier today and yesterday, and I think if we can share those kinds of messages consistently and they positively impact anybody, we've done good. And I think we've done a fair amount of that.
I'd like to hope so. And a good friend of mine once told me, he says, it doesn't do any good to bury the hatchet if you're going to mark the spot with a tombstone. You either put it away or you don't. But
that's why I hate the sentence, I'll forgive you, but I won't forget.
Yeah, which is not forgiveness then.
Yeah.
because you're still holding grudge. You're still holding the grudge.
I was driving my car the other day and I was talking to somebody and we got into an old story and I said, yeah, and I was mad back then. And I actually said this out loud. I said, wait a second, am I still mad about that? And I said, I better not be mad about that. I better let go of that right now if I'm mad about it. And I'm like, am I mad about, wait a second, I better not be, oh, I got to let that go if I'm mad about that right now. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, I'm glad that brought up because I got to make sure I'm not mad about that anymore. It's ridiculous now. And they're like, wow. I'm like, no, I got to make sure that if I tell that story, I'm not mad about that anymore. And so then I go, okay, so back to what you were saying, and I went on, but I was like, because you get excited about telling a story and you want to make sure that you're just telling the story, but you don't want to be, part of that story anymore. You just, but, and that's the thing. If you're recanting a story, you better not be attached to that story anymore, neither, You just,
I'm always asking people to, acceptance. It's an acceptance thing.
yeah.
And to accept what has happened for what it was. And if you look up one of the definitions of acceptance that I really like is to look upon with favor, not just to say it's okay, but to look upon with favor. So if I could have acceptance to say, listen, I'm not thrilled about the things I've done in my past, but they were there for a reason. They were there for a purpose. They put me where I am today. It's no longer about having to let go. Now it becomes something that it's a part of my foundation, but I don't have to relive it. I don't have to refeel it. I'm not living it today. It's in the past. Totally forgetting things. I don't even know if that's possible, or maybe it is. But if I totally forget things, then I forget the lessons that I learned as well. I think acceptance is what I need to look for. And that's to look at my past and to look at the things that happen even today and say, there's a reason for all of this. Even if I'm not privy to it, I've got to believe there's a reason and just go about and be okay. So
that's why always it's good to remember, if you like where you are now, you like what you're about and you like yourself, everything that happened before had to be okay to get you here.
That's right.
If they changed any of that, you wouldn't be who you are now. So making peace with your past that way makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's right. If you don't believe me, watch Back to the Future. You screw with the past, you screw it today up. And then next thing you know, Kristen Glover is normal, and that'll never happen. All right, so
And you could never be born then too, but that's anyways.
All right, so listen, we got a few minutes left. What I'd like to do is to do a go around as we always do at the end. But this time I'd really like each of us to maybe share something that we want to share with our audience, a little thought to keep them warm throughout the summer months, just something that we want to share from your heart to the people who have been watching us, and whatever message you'd like to leave out there while we're on our hiatus. So John, why don't we start with you, brother?
First of all, I have taken more notes over these last several months than I've ever taken in college over the last 4 years. So thank God my mother's dead, so she can't watch the show and hear that. But what I'd like, there was a couple of things that you guys said. It's mindset, man. You get up in the morning. If you get up in a shitty attitude, you got to stretch your arms and say, let's make this the best day ever. You're amazing. 6 weeks to make a habit. Guess what's going to happen? Every day is going to be better. And I'm preaching to the choir. It really is one of those things you need to do. Celebrate everything. I took notes. You guys are awesome. Jonathan Brandmeier, who was an amazing disc jockey in the 80s and 90s in Chicago, his motto for every show is, we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. So you nailed on the head, Rex. But I'd like to keep people warm within the summer. I'm not sure how that goes. I want to keep them cold. But you know what? You got a great group of people here. You have a half dozen of the most goofiest eggs you'll ever meet in your life. Follow us all on Facebook, on LinkedIn. If you're having a bad time, if you want to reach out anonymously, if you're having a problem, whether it's good or bad, share good. Confidentially share bad. Know we're here for you, and we'll be back when I have a better light.
and
Or sooner than that, possibly.
John is going to take all those notes he's been making all this time. He's going to put them into a book. It's going to be the Lynn and Scott and Friends show as John sees it. And that's what it's going to be.
Wait just a second.
Edited by Callahan.
I can hold up a blank sheet of paper too and say I took tons of notes.
It's not blank. Look.
Oh yeah, no.
Half of it's you, Rex.
John, he's got a book. Don't even worry about him, man.
Barry?
What do you say, Barry?
There's so much we keep talking every week. That's the thing I love about this show, this conversation, this connection, this community, is that we always have stuff to talk about, which is great. So taking 2 months off, we'll be back with fresh information and new insights down the road too. But as John said, we do keep doing our thing on social media wherever we are. And I know Rex and Scott and I are going to be on there's an upcoming show next month we're doing. So we're always doing something, whether it's doing podcasting or writing books, some of us, painting pictures, doing mortgages, whatever we're doing something to make life better for other people. So just keep following us around outside in the world. We're here to make life better. That's what we do.
Love it.
Scott.
Today was day 205 in a row of a What Now Wisdom, and
Wow.
that is not going to change.
I love it.
You mean there's not going to be a 206?
Oh no, there's going to be a 206 and a 207 and everything else. What I meant is the posting every day to 20 different socials will be out there with a desire to put out some nuggets, some tidbits, some things that I've learned, some things that run across my, sphere. And it's always intriguing to me to see who responds to what and how the group turns over and changes. I've had everything from one of my first bosses in corporate America to a buddy I played football with at Iowa that's in the NFL Hall of Fame now, to I've had all sorts to people I went to kindergarten with, 4 years old, and everything in between. And it's cool to see. And like John and Barry, and I'm sure Rex will say as well, if we can be of service in any way, reach out. We're not hard to find, I know the desire to continue to learn and grow is there. It's why I go to events and then I'm in awe and say, gosh, I got a long way to go. I've done some cool things, but not as cool as a lot of people. Now, I don't feel bad about that or anything, but I think it's about consistently expanding and growing and learning so that we can touch more lives, serve more people, do more good things. And I think we're at a very pivotal time in our world. Not that we haven't been here before and we made it through. How do I know that? We're all here. Right. And we're here with new technology, better technology, greater ways of doing it, all those kinds of things. So take this time to harness it and do this yourself. I mean, if any of this has inspired you, people say, well, how many people watch? I don't know. I don't care. It's if you touch one life, you've done something. It's not about that. If the only life you've touched is your own by expressing yourself, you've done something. So I don't know that we necessarily come here that intentional, quite frankly. I think it sometimes turns that way, but I don't know that it's there by the lack of topics that we've had. But anyway, it's all good. Everybody enjoy. If there's ever a time I can be of service, reach out. And I'm honored to have done this with all of you, and it'll be fun when we come back and do it again.
Absolutely. Mr. Rex.
So I'll give you a brief commercial. My show is recording live or streaming live every Wednesday around 3 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Pacific. Create Your Best Life with Rex. So that's ongoing. There's the LA Tribune Leadership Summit coming up the 1st through the 7th of May. We all have different things that are going on and happening. I do my daily blog. I mean, so there's plenty of ways to interact with each of us or myself, and you may see some of these people on my show someday too. So just be forewarned, everybody. But in acting, there's a number of different approaches. There's a method approach and different methods and everything like that. But one of the things is if you've heard the term real and raw, it usually means that the actor is trying to be as authentic or real going through whatever the emotions are, whether it's elation or whether it's horror or whether it's devastation. They're trying to be real. They're trying to get to the raw emotion. They're trying to experience it. And think about that for a second. There are people who are actually going into their pain to experience their pain so intently that somebody can film it, so that they, while they're saying the lines that are written by somebody else, their emotions are coming from an authentic place. Now, there are other ways to do this, but this is a process, right? But it's about the experience. Now, there is the notion that enlightenment is the ability to be totally authentic and in the moment, regardless of what you're experiencing. So if you're happy, you're 100% happy and not worried or doubting or fearful about anything else, but you're totally present. And if you're angry or you're sad or you're depressed, for those moments, you're totally angry, sad, or depressed without trying to be something else. You're not trying to be happy. You're not trying to be this. You're just completely absorbed with whatever's going on. And Buddha said, if you could think of a thought or be authentic for 7 seconds, you would be enlightened. Well, that tells you how ethereal this kind of thing is, but it also tells you that most people aren't willing to go there. Now, you don't have to go into your pain and you don't have to suffer, but know that when it's going on, there is the ability to sit with it or choose what you want to do with it. But to try and escape it usually causes more suffering, because what you resist is what persists. You set up a battle, there's a conflict, this kind of thing. And so people spend a lot of their time like with one foot on the boat and the other foot on the dock, and they're never really in one place or the other. To live successfully is to jump into the boat and go to your destination and enjoy the journey along the way, and not just be vacillating back and forth. The last thing I would say is there is only one. That's why they say namaste. They go, I honor the God that's in you, that's in me. So there is only consciousness, in the same way that there's only, for example, how many different notes are there in or sounds?
What you mean, like in a tone pattern?
Sure. There's
Well,
only one.
I guess
There's only one. There's different expressions of that one, but there's only one. There's either sound or there's no sound.
Okay, gotcha.
So all of the different expressions, it's like music. It's either music or it's not music. In other words, we are expressions of consciousness. We're all alike in many ways. We're all different in many ways, like a diamond has different facets. So instead of hating a facet that's on part of the diamond, accept it. Show it its favor. And know that we're all good. We're all here. And we're all meant to be here, or we wouldn't be. So, let's just celebrate and live and be harmonious with ourselves and with others. Go first.
Excellent. Lynn, what do you think?
Well, we're running out of time, so no.
Oh, this will be the first time we've gone over time.
You're going off for 2.5 months. You could take a couple extra.
I know we're taking extra time. No, like I said, I'm speechless because I love every one of you guys. It just means a lot to be in your presence and spend this time with you guys. And, this time for me, I've got a lot of personal things to take care of. So I'm going to be busy on a lot of personal and health things. So I'm really excited to come back and be with you guys and have hopefully a lot of great news and stuff and maybe have different sceneries and things. So, I'm going to be very productive, but we will have some times where I say, hey, you guys want to pop on and do a show? So there'll be those times because I'm going to need it. I'm going to need it and want it. So I'm excited about that. So those times will happen. And it's just great to have an extension of friends that are like-minded and care to share your thoughts and, pick me up and perspectives and, more than anything, to be around people that care to have topics and to bring light to a subject. It's invaluable to have friendships like this, and they mean so much to me. So, surround yourself with people that just lift you up, and you'll never go wrong. You'll never go wrong. So I'm so grateful for that, you guys. So Scott, Jonesy.
Oh, I'm honored as always.
Oh, and not to interrupt you, but I want to thank you for trusting me to bring all these people onto our show, because I just knew you were going to love all these people. So thank you for trusting me to bring all my friends along to become your friends. So,
of course, I'm in Florida. She's in Montana. I had no freaking choice, but I loved it, and I thank you. No, listen, you're absolutely. Like I said, when Lynn and I started this, we just wanted a forum where we could share some ideas that were hopefully a little bit more hopeful than some of the doom and gloom that's out there. And what was born of it has been incredible, and one of the great joys of my week getting together with you guys each week. I just want to leave people with this. Listen, we're done. Let's be done giving lip service to kindness and lip service to service and lip service to helping people. And let's start doing it. It doesn't do any good to walk over somebody sleeping in the gutter so you can get a good seat at church. It doesn't do any good to run to your charity event and go past the people on the corner without food, without shelter, without clothing. Most of these people are people that are friends of yours, or sons and daughters of your friends, or a member of your family, or more importantly, veterans. Working with the VA, finding out the number of homeless veterans, the veterans that are going without proper care. It's astounding. We're in a new world when it comes to things like mental health and addiction. There are drugs out there that are taking people down in droves. If it keeps up, the next 20 years, we're going to see 3 million people die from opioids alone. It's got to stop. And the only way it stops is if we all stop accepting the acceptable loss numbers, and we stop accepting that that's where the homeless people hang out. And as long as it's not in my backyard, then I'm okay with it. We shouldn't be okay. There are numbers out there to call. 988 for mental health. You don't have to be concerned about it. You don't know what to do anymore. You call 988. It's like 911, but it's for mental health. If you got somebody who's suffering, stop waiting. Waiting that one extra day could be the difference between saving a life and not saving a life. And I am just tired of watching our friends, our fellow human beings ceasing to be. I'm tired of it. Let's all get on board with that. Let's all just make a little bit of difference. If each person just spends a little bit of time helping one person, it spreads like wildfire. It really does. And what do you got to lose? What do you got to lose? I can tell you what you got to gain. You get to gain your humanity. You can't get that when you sell a fob. You can't get that when you buy a new car. You don't get humanity any other way than by helping another human being. So let's do that. And let's spend this summer making this summer a summer of change for everybody. God bless everybody out there who's been watching and listening all this time, and all my friends here. We'll see each other in between and doing other projects, but I can't wait to get back on with season 2, which is going to be 600 episodes long. So be ready for it. Exercise.
I think I'm going to count our episodes. I'll have that answer by the time we get back. Love you guys.
Everybody hold your breath until we see each other next time.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Go Bears.
Bye. Bye.
Keeping me safe and sound.